Alex, where do you see our loop within 10, 15 years? What technology do you think will be there towards enhancing what you provide?
So I think it'll all be voice. I don't think there'll be any written. You'll be hearing it and you'll be speaking it in your own language. So I'll be speaking to you in English and you'll be, if you're in Spain, speaking to me in Spanish, and I'll be hearing English and you'll be hearing Spanish from me. And it'll be much more visual and it'll be real time, and people will expect to be able to feedback. People would expect to see what other people are saying. So I think the demand side will be quite different as well. And I think that the technology, so the access to the internet and the use of these, I don't think it'll be in the maybe it will be. I do think that there's two realities about online. One, those people who have access to 5G and funds, etc. And there's others which will still be a device that will definitely be internet enabled in 15 years, all of them, I think. And yeah, I think it'll be primarily voice. I mean, if I look at my 13-year-old daughter, everything's in voice for her.
It's so funny. Yeah. I don't use voice at all, Alex. I don't use Google Assistant. I don't use all that sort of thing. I'm more old. I think the older you get, the more old school you become towards how I use technology. I have a non-smartphone basically. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, sorry if I can, Valentine. So my 13-year-old, she'll ask the phone a question. She will get the reply back and have it spoken to her instead of reading it. She will take text and put it into Google Translate and have Google Translate read it to her. But then when you're talking about populations around the world, the majority of the world doesn't speak English, and massive population doesn't feel confident communicating through the written word. And a lot of the languages that people do feel comfortable writing and speaking in are not accessible on digital technology. Mm-hmm. So accessibility can be massively enabled by using voice.
I think translation is a core element, because a lot of the mapping we make on the internet, we at Greybox, we often download Wikipedia, for example, for projects. And the first time I downloaded Wikipedia in French, I thought for a project in Africa, I thought there was a problem with my connection and that it dropped, because it took me surprisingly little amount to download, because a few weeks before I downloaded the English database, and it's it's 3 times smaller, a bit less than that. You go from 6 million articles to 2 million articles, and not as well written as well. So there's a huge difference of, in your language, what resources can you access? And Paul, I'm a bit more confident. I do understand the appeal of writing, because when you scan data, but not everybody is comfortable. I've seen recently Slack playing with a feature that I found could reconcile me with using voice for work, which is I could say a message, or somebody can send me a message, voice, but it will also transcribe.
Yeah.
So based on the context, one makes more sense than others. I've been in cases where I want to hear you, and I'm in the context where I want to scan your thoughts real quick.
But that's just to help us cross generations, The non-digital natives, once we're out of the way, they won't need that anymore.
But I see it where, because the friction point becomes so low, there are cases where I cannot use audio. And there are cases where text makes more sense because it's more precise. And there's cases where voice gives me information that I cannot have. And if you can make those layers coexist together, why not, actually? Right? I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree. So I was saying before, I don't use speak to text on my phone or my computer, but I do have Alexas my entire house, right? And so I find them amazing. But I was thinking before, Alex, about in Kenya there's 43 languages, so Swahili is the most prevalent. How do you deal with a rural person that speaks the language blah? Towards the nuances in languages in Nigeria and Somalia, etc. All of a sudden, that's an awful lot of AI machine learning to deal with that.
I agree completely, and that's why we said 15 years and not 5 or
There's projects,
but that will only happen when there's a financial benefit for it for somebody.